Welcome to the Best You podcast, where we explore the journey of inner peace, harmony, and joy that comes from living authentically. Every week, we will dive into transformative conversations that describe both the way you can create behavioral change for yourself and how to create the conditions that promote peace, harmony, and joy around you. Whether you're seeking balance, deeper relationships, or a spark of inspiration, you're in the right place. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the basic tools for achieving this in our life, and so that you can have the insights and practices that will help bring more harmony and joy into your world. So let's get started.
All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Your Best You. And today, Sanna and I are going to talk about being your best you in the workplace. I think everybody's got a job. Heck, you may even be a job as a parent in your own house. That could be your workplace. But I think everybody's got a job to do. And you've got somebody you're responsible to. Could be again your child, but most people have a boss, and I think, and as Son and I were talking, I think this is a really important topic. I think it's something that causes a lot of anxiety in people. I think it also is something that is really important part of people's lives. And if you're going to live your best you, we believe this is something that we need to talk to you about. So, Sana, anything do you want to say to kind of get us going here?
Well, just you said it wonderfully. Just to add that work is such a major part of our lives, whether we want to, want that or not. So we want to have a good quality of life in that, that we spend most of our 5 days a week or more for some people in that work role. So this is a great topic, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Sana. So we're going to try to capture it from two different places. First, we're going to do the employee perspective, and then I think many of you are also bosses, and we're going to also touch on that. But let's start from the employee perspective because, again, if you're working for a company, you're an employee, and when you're an employee, you've got responsibilities. You've got a boss who you want to keep happy. You could even be the CEO of a company, by the way, but you've got a board that you got to keep happy. But there's, anybody who's an employee, works for an organization, you've got somebody who you're accountable to. And I think that is, again, something that can cause anxiety. Could be that they are putting unrealistic expectations on what you need to perform. It could be personality related. It could be the number of hours they want you to do. I mean, there could just be a number of things that could be stressful. And the question really is, how are you going to feel? How are you going to be your best you? And one of the things that you've heard us talk about in our episodes is the power of the mind. And I think one of the things we want to just talk about today is how you can have a real impact on your experience. You could have a boss that is asking you to do, unrealistic things, they're impossible expectations. And maybe you try to explain to them why these aren't doable, the time frame or the amount of revenues, whatever they want you to bring in, but they may not accept that. And then the question is what? And I think this is something that a lot of people grapple with, and you've got the ability, you've got the mind, you can decide how you're going to handle that, and you really can just tell yourself, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to trust that that my best is good enough, and I'm going to prepare myself at the beginning of the day. We've talked about some other ways to set that foundation to come into the office. And by the way, a lot of people working from home now, but still, you're however you're connected into your business. But start the day from a place of calm, and then do your best, and just trust that a good outcome will happen. So, Son, anything you want to talk about? Just in terms of maybe a boss that has some real unrealistic expectations on you.
Yeah. Well, I first want to just reiterate what I mean, just put a big yes on what Scott just said, um, and to a point. So I did the same thing when I was trying to get tenure, and that's exactly the attitude I took. I thought this is impossible. How am I going to do this? But I just thought I'm going to do my best every day, and let the chips fall where they may. I can't do more than my best. So fortunately it worked out in the sense that I got tenure, and it didn't work out in the sense that I realized I was chasing somebody else's dream. So that's another story. Like I was miserable. But
But
the
that's a
other thing,
huge point. Yeah. What are you putting out there that you've got to have? Is it really what you want, or is it what other people have led you to believe is
well,
important?
yeah, and that's part of it. And that's sort of what I was about to lead up to, because if there's a misalignment in the expectations from the supervisor and the employee, you have to ask yourself, why is that? And I'm saying both sides, because if either either one or more person is having unrealistic expectations, or it's not a good match. So self determination theory says that we have the most energy to complete goals and tasks if we are competent at the job or the task, if we have enough autonomy, in other words, like I have the authority and the resources I need to actually do the job, um, and then and that there is also the relevance that I understand why this matters, whether it's to our customers or the other employees or the supervisor or the organization as a whole. But I'm also going to say that the autonomy part to me has to do with whether I really want to be there or not. I may feel like I have to be there. And so if I feel like I have to be there and I don't really like the job, I don't like the industry, I don't, like the culture, if I don't like what I'm doing, then I'm probably not going to do a good job. And so I might say my supervisor's being unrealistic, but it could be that I'm not being realistic about whether I should be doing this. It is also true that supervisors can be unrealistic. Um, and so this is where the communication um, might need improvement. So I've had employees just say, yes, ma'am, and then just not do the job. Where what I wish they'd said was, okay, but I don't know how to do this. Could you give me some more guidance? I need some mentorship with this. I don't even know where to begin. How do I do this? So it goes both ways. Um, and and I think for a supervisor, they could be unrealistic in the same way. Like they may not enjoy supervising, or they might think being a leader is the same thing as having authority. And if I just say, Scott, you go do this thing, then that's my right to expect you to just move heaven and earth, whether it's realistic or desirable or not. So it's complicated, as you said, and if both sides aren't having self-awareness and taking responsibility for themselves, and the communication, it can go downhill pretty quick, which it probably does.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and I'm glad you're bringing up the boss's perspective, because again, getting back to unrealistic expectations, which I think a lot of employees feel. The thing I think you have the ability, not only have the ability to how you want to feel yourself to stay calm, but you actually have the ability to have a respectful conversation with your boss. And here's something you should think about when you do. Your boss, whether they like their job or not, again, some people don't want to be boss. Some, who knows what's going on in their life. But I'll tell you this much, having been a boss before and being a boss right now, I I um I don't want to ask my employees to do things that they think are unrealistic. I know for a fact if they feel like it's unrealistic, it's going to be a downer. It's going to help them do things. It's going to hurt them, and not help them do things that are actually reasonable. I mean, it's just going to push them away from being the successes that they should be. So I actually really appreciate when an employee tells me that this is unrealistic. Now, they might not be correct, but it's good to know that that's what they're thinking. It's good to understand why they're thinking that. And guess what? Sometimes they are right. And it forces me to rethink what I've asked them to do. I may have amazing responsibilities and commitments on me. And I may have pushed them onto people, assuming I got to distribute them. But the truth of the matter is, I know again from experience that if I'm asking people truly unrealistic things, it really is going to hurt it's going to hurt them from doing even what was reasonable. So um, I think most bosses don't want people to do things that are truly unrealistic or unreasonable, and they would appreciate understanding better if they truly are. The other thing is there are times when you may think it's unreasonable or unrealistic, and again, if you can do this calmly, your boss may actually, and pay attention, your boss may actually be able to explain to you a better way than you thought you could do it, why it can be done the way that they were thinking. And so I think that unreasonable expectation thing is a big thing with a lot of people. And it's amazing how if people just take the time to have conversation and open their mind, things are not usually nearly as bad as they think.
Yes. And I also feel like we all have, or not all of us, many of us have this belief that these work relationships are supposed to last forever or they're a failure. And sometimes it's just time to move on. Like sometimes things change and then things aren't a good fit, or you came into a role and you hate it. It's things that you don't enjoy doing, or you don't value the work itself, like, or the mission, um, or the vision of the organization or department. And it just may not be a good fit. And we don't have to get mad at each other. Like we don't have to make it personal on either side and then leave in a huff, or file lawsuits and things. Um, that's not to say that you should never do that, because sometimes that's the right thing to do. But sometimes jobs have their season. Sometimes relationships have their season, and there's no reason that it has to be taken personally. Oftentimes people get fired or they leave a position only to find that they're much happier elsewhere. So if you're not happy in your role, then that might be telling you something, that maybe a change is in order. Either, like Scott said, better communication, being more open, or asking for help, or maybe it means that you need to be thinking of other options. And I always am happy when an employee leaves for a better job, because if they can't grow in a certain place, then I want to see them grow somewhere else. And that's actually a success.
That's a great mindset of any boss. I think the really great bosses want the best for their people, and they think of them as people, not as only employees or even like machines. But everybody's a human being, and a boss really should want what's best for that human being. The other thing I want to just get back to what Sana was saying: if you don't like your job, there's lots of other jobs out there. So don't just, feel like you can't find a job that you like, because there's so many other things, just to encourage you to not only think about it, but to do it. I think a lot of people don't like change, and they stick with the job they don't like just because they don't like to change. I think another thing that employees worry about is, again, am I going to get fired? Am I going to be surplused? In today's day and age, are they going to make me come back to the office? All I can say to those things is, in your mind, again, your mind's powerful, things you can control, do something about. But if you can't control a boss who might want to fire you for, even though you're doing good work, or surplus you because they got surplus numbers, or make you come to the office, you don't want to come. I mean, just tell yourself, I'm going to do the best I can. And if I have to make a decision, for example, if they make me come back to the office and I don't want to come back to the office, that's again could be another opportunity for you to go look for another job. And I think Son and I have talked about this. It's amazing to me how many times people who are not happy with their job situation for whatever reason, or even surplus, it just amazes me how many times people find something better, something they like more, even better pay. So I just encourage people to not worry and to trust that things are going to work out. The other thing I want to just touch on is the boss's perspective. We talked about, they may not realize they put on unreasonable expectations, but I'll tell you something else from a boss's perspective is, the boss is just simply trying to deliver to their boss certain results, and it's interesting as a boss how many times your employees will not do what you asked them to do. Either they won't deliver the results, or they won't do it the way you asked them to do it, or what have you. And I think being a boss is it's an important job. Every organization needs good bosses. But again, I encourage all bosses to keep a good perspective. Um, Remind yourself that these are human beings. Who knows what their reason is for not doing what you want them to do? Maybe you gave them unrealistic expectations. You should really try to understand why they didn't meet the results. If they didn't do what you wanted to do, talk to them, understand what they were thinking, why they thought their way was better, or maybe why they didn't understand what you were asking them to do or how to do it. But it's amazing how many times, if we just try to think of the people that work for us as human beings and not just, again, employees or machines, how often you can actually get to a good place and actually have that person learn and do better next time. Anything you'd like to add on that, Sana?
I think that was really well said, Scott, and right on point. And it's critically important not move into viewing them as an object instead of a person. So by object meaning a means to an end, a problem, or irrelevant. And I want to just point out that this goes both ways, because you talked about really what is middle management, and middle management is frequently like a lose-lose situation because they see what's happening in the big picture at the top. Like, if we don't raise revenue, we're going to close shop, but they may not be able to say that. And then the employee's going, we're working too hard, we want more, and we can't produce this. And yet there's also not a lot of productivity either, even what is doable. So so please, employees, also remember your supervisors are people too. And and they may be just as much subject to the whims of the upper management or market forces or whatever as you might feel. So this is why keeping each other's humanity in mind all the way around, and keeping communications open and respectful is important. And also just having your own self-awareness. Again, if you're a supervisor and you don't like supervising people, you're probably not doing that great of a job. Or, you may have some big blank spots that may be impairing your ability to do so. Like, just simply telling somebody to do something because you're the boss is not going to be effective.
That's so right. And I think many of you understand that I'm the chair of the Peace, Harmony, and Joy Alliance, and I'm a big believer in peace, harmony, and joy. I truly believe that it's in us. And Sana's, she's on our board. She believes this too. It's in us, all of us, to feel joy in everything we're doing, especially in the workplace where we spend so much of our time. But if you're going to feel joy, you get it. The foundation is you got to find a way to stay calm, to just feel good. And again, there's so many different ways, but to find a way to find peace in your life so that your mind can truly, think about what's going on and handle the situations properly. The harmony part is, when you're calm, it's like being your best self. Find yourself a job that truly utilizes your talents and gifts. And then when you're in that job, again, because you're calm, you can have your mind and your body and everything operate, efficiently and optimally. And the joy is to be in the moment. Don't be worrying like how you messed up last week or what your boss is going to think tomorrow. Think about, I'm doing this job and I'm going to do it with my talents and my gifts the best I can. And when you're feeling the peace, harmony, and joy within yourself, then you're going to be amazed how you actually have those peace, harmony, and joy experiences with your colleagues. And again, If someone says something rude to you, doesn't mean you got to say something rude back. Just figure out a way to stay calm and have peaceful relationships. The harmony part is to appreciate the talents and gifts of the colleagues. Just because they want to do it differently, heck, there may be a better way, or they may learn something from the way they want to do it. But don't get upset with them. Don't just find ways to appreciate all the different talents and gifts that everybody else brings. Because I'm telling you, in a company, you can't do everything yourself, and everybody can't do everything necessarily exactly the way you want it, but it's amazing how everybody can play a role. So find ways to have calm and make music with the people around you, and again, be in the moment with them so you can have these joyful experiences. But you truly have the ability to have joy in everything you do. And the last thing I want to touch on with that is the leader, a thing we call joyful leadership, because I think as a boss, sometimes it's really hard to have joy when people aren't doing what you ask them to do. They're not delivering the results that you need to have. And all I can say to that is, again, remind yourselves that they're human beings. They may or may not be doing the best they can. Who knows what's going on in their lives. I mean, they may be having family issues. Who knows what. But just remind yourself that they're human beings. And if you can truly feel good about yourself, truly feel calm, and truly feel like you're doing the best in the moment, have the PHJ inside of you, it's amazing to me how you can actually be a joyful leader. And when you're a joyful leader, and when you're truly having calm relationships and you're truly trying to understand and appreciate the different ways and whatever they're trying, and you're being in the moment with them, you will be amazed how they may not produce everything exactly the way you want, but what you will see is that they will be happier. They will be, I think, calmer. They'll be more productive, and it's just going to be a much more happy environment. And there are studies being done, and there's results that show that if people feel good about their boss and they feel good about the environment, that's usually where you're going to get the best performance out of a person working for you.
So true. All of the things being equal. So, and there are still standards and performance expectations and codes of conduct that we can't ignore. Like we're not saying just ignore all bad behavior or lack of performance. And if there needs to be disciplinary action or separation or something like that, that you do that with as much compassion and kindness as possible. And again, like if they're not happy there, they're probably not going to be productive and successful. And by keeping people in a place where they're not being successful is not doing them a favor. And we don't have to take it personally either way. Everything has a season, and sometimes a peaceful separation where you help somebody transition to a different role or a set of responsibilities in the company that's more in line with their strengths and interests would be ideal. Or help them transition into another role elsewhere or another organization if it can't be remedied. But again, viewing them with their humanity and with kindness and with attention to how would it feel if you were in that role? How would you want to be treated, or how would they want to be treated while going through this? It could be different from how you want to be treated. So and in the end, people might wonder, why did we not do this sooner?
Yeah, that's well said. Well, we'll wrap this up by simply saying we all have the ability to have enjoyable experiences wherever we work, in the office, if we work from home, even if our boss is a crying little baby, you have the ability to truly have a peace, harmony, joy experience with them, and it's your mind and how you train it. So we really enjoy being on this joyful journey with you and helping you, and we're also curious if you've got tips for us. Sanna, you want to tell them about your website?
Yeah, come join us at healingedu.org. So many resources for becoming the best you from the inside out, and how to create harmonious relationships and peace within.
Excellent. It's a great website. So many different ways to learn and to help yourself. And then the peaceharmonyjoy.org website. We also have lots of resources there for you. again, if you got a tip for us, you can leave it there. But we're both on this journey. We're both trying to live these joyful lives, and we're looking forward to learning with you and all of us having these great experiences together.
Thanks for listening.
Yep. Wishing you the best. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Best You podcast. We hope today's conversation sparked some new ways for you to cultivate your inner peace, connect meaningfully with others, and embrace the joy of living in harmony. Remember, being the best version of yourself isn't a destination. It's a daily practice of growth, reflection, and kindness to yourself and those around you. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love it for you to subscribe, share it with somebody who'd benefit, and leave a review to help us spread the message of peace and joy. Stay connected, stay inspired, and we'll see you next time on The Best You.